Hey, welcome back to the Positive Podcast. Glad you're tuning in. Host Jeremy Todd, coming to you from all the galaxies and planets all around the universe. I'm glad you're tuning in because this episode is going to be thebomb.com. Go to thebomb.com. Check out this episode. That'd be cool if I owned that domain name.
That would be great.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Today's episode, man, I'm so excited. My boy Jim Stryker's jumping in today. Now, Jim Stryker, a learner, liver, earner, lover, believer, giver, and proud RE8 syndicate member. Now, Jim, I'm gonna bring you in here in just a second. I mean, that right there is a mouthful. Already jacked up to have you on, but I want to talk to you about one other thing.
Yeah.
You put this on your Facebook page on June 10th. And I'm going to read this right off your page, my friend. I love it. And I think we need to talk about this right away. Most people don't want accurate information. They only want validating information. Most people are 100% afraid of their own truths. Personal growth requires us to be open to unlearning ideas that previously served us. Lives evolve. Life is happening for us, not to us. I love that quote. Change is constant. I always asking myself, Jim, what do you think you really know about what you know? You see, our mind is a suggestion engine and not a very good one, but at that, every thought we have is a suggestion, not an order. Sometimes the mind suggests that we are tired, that we should give up, or that we should take an easier path or stay put on and resist change or growth. But if we take action and keep going, we can learn to discover new suggestions, new ways, more growth, and maybe even better ways to live our lives. Make today awesome because ain't nobody going to do it for you. Jim Stryker, welcome to the show, my friend.
Man, thank you. That is awesome. Whoever wrote that, I love it.
Well, I want to pick that apart because what the one thing that I mean, there's multiple things that stick out to me on just that. And that's why I love following you. Real quick, before we get going on this podcast, make sure you follow Jim Stryker. I mean, we're going to talk about at the end of the show, where to find him, how to follow him. But man, he brings the heat every single day, and I love his posts. But again, what I love this right off the bat, most people don't want accurate information. They only want validating information. What do you mean by that?
Man, I'm so glad. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. And hello, to everybody. And one of the biggest thing for me is this: it's dealing with the man in the mirror. I realized long ago that nobody's coming to save me, and that I had to get really, really honest and truthful for where I'm at in my life every single morning I wake up. And so I make it a routine to get up and stare at myself in the mirror and say, okay, who are you today? Who are you becoming today? And what are you willing to do? And be really truthful with it. Sometimes it's a moment of silence where I'm really looking at what I'm set out to do for my day and realizing that it's on me, right? So I am responsible for my actions. I am responsible for my day. I am responsible for my life. Extreme ownership, to the core. But that is the raw truth for me. If I'm not where I want to be in my life, in my body, my being, my balance, my business, wherever it is, it's probably because I'm not doing the work, or I don't know what I don't know, or I think I know something that I really don't know. And so it's really just about getting real and raw and honest with myself and for the life that I have, created, right? We all create our lives out of nothing. We're all born with nothing, not even really anything, right? Not even with the ability to take care of ourselves. So everything is created from nothing in our whole entire lives. And we are at where we're at in our life because of the things we've decided to do. We are where we are and who we are because what we've decided to become. So that's what that means.
Well, it's crazy powerful. And I love how you explain it. My question, what was going through my head is, what do you tell somebody that's sitting out there that they wake up in the morning and man, they're just not loving life, man. They look at themselves in the mirror and they're just not happy with what they see. I know you talked about taking action and doing it, but you've obviously been doing this for years. What would you tell someone from day one? How do you change that mindset day one?
Man, just get honest with where you're at so that you can determine where it is that you want to go. When you can get honest with where you're at and you're at where you're at because of the decisions and the choices and the actions that you've taken, it's very, very liberating to say, okay, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not who I want to be. Okay, great. So now you have a baseline, right? Everybody is really on the path to going somewhere, right? But you got to know, one, where it is that you want to go, but two, you got to be real honest with where you're at and you got to take ownership of it. No more victim mentality. It's not because of this, not because of that. It's because of the decisions that you made. It's because of the action that you've taken or the lack of action that you've taken or the indecision or the fear or whatever. But my first thing is we don't know where you want to go until we first can get really real and raw with where you've been, right? So let's spend time getting that done right now so that you can put yourself on the path for today to go execute and go win.
You know, it's when you're saying that, and what I think to myself is some people, the reason they never get to that point is because they're scared and they're afraid to face that reality of actually where they're at. You know, and I look back at myself and throughout my life and my struggles, and, you know, it sounds so, it's just, this is just what's going through my head. It's like when it's so easy, hey, well, just go look at yourself in the mirror. But man, some days, even for me, man, still the positive side guy, man, I'm just like, dude, what are you doing with your life, man? You got to get focused. And it's interesting because, you know, I've done so much work on myself and personal development and, you know, working with people one-on-one and just making myself get through that. I think one of the biggest breakthroughs for me was just understanding that everything I've done in the past is okay. Right. I mean, it's like you said, it's brought me to this point for a specific reason at this specific time in my life to learn something. And I think one of the biggest mistakes people do is they don't actually realize the situation they're in and to learn why they are there. It's not like you said it brilliantly. It's not because of what, you know, you got ripped off at your job and, you know, your neighbor thinks you're ugly or whatever. It's no one else's fault, but what all the decisions that you've made in your life. And that's, you mentioned extreme ownership. Have you read I'm sure you've read Extreme Ownership, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely one of the books, you know, that I got back there. I love Jocko. I love, that was very liberating for me as well, is to be like, man, if I have nobody to blame but me, like, wow, then I can really take ownership of where I'm at, right? Like all of life is happening for us. It's never happening to us. And we're all just a sum of our past experiences, whether they're good or bad or perceived bad. I don't really, you know, it's really hard to say that there's a lot of bad ones. You learn something from all of them, right?
Yeah.
And most of us learn more from our challenging ones or our quote bad ones than we do our good ones anyway, right? So it's sort of like, you know, you have to think of yourself in the sense that, you know, you're trying to develop gold. But where gold really starts from is in the ground that it comes out. It's ugly and it's dirty and it has to be refined. It has to be heated up and then it has to be pounded. And then it has to be heated up and has to be pounded. It has to be broken down. And only after an amazing process of taking that gold and beating up and pounding it and heating it up and pounding it and stressing it out and going, do you actually get something that's fully refined and beautiful. But it has to go through a lot of pain and a lot of process to get its journey from the ground to being dirty, to being refined, to being purified, being clean, before that beautiful reflection of what you look at when you're looking at that gold looks back at you. And that's a lot of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that's helped me in my life, and I've hired a coach. I've had multiple coaches. You know, you know, we talked about Dani Tuttle. Dani Tuttle. Yeah. We're going to get to one of our questions later on, but yeah. Who do you know that I should know? He said Jim Stryker, and I think he said it twice. So I'm like, you know what? Damn it, we're getting Jim Stryker on the show one way or another. We're going to get him on here. But one of the things I want to talk about is with the coach, and I think, you know, one of the things I respect most about you is now you work with Ed Milet. Is that correct?
I'm a part of the Arate Syndicate with Ed Milet and Andy Priscilla. Yes.
Okay. Now, I guess, why did you decide to go that route? And talk a little bit of the Arate Syndicate. Like, talk a little bit about that and what it brings to your life and how people can get involved with that.
Yeah. So I love, like I said, I love books. I love authors. I love creators. And most importantly, Jeremy, I love practitioners. I love people that talk and teach about things that they've accomplished and things that they've done and things that they've learned. But also in the modern day life, they actually practice exactly what they're preaching or teaching or what have you. They haven't just, oh, hell, 10 years ago, this is who I was and this is how I did it and whatever. I was really attracted to Dani in the very beginning as my coach. Dani was my coach for a long time because he was a practitioner. He was coaching me on the things that he was doing in his life. And I was like, dude, I'm all in. You know something I don't. Let's go. Same thing with Andy and Ed. Ed is incredibly successful spiritually. Obviously, financially, on his way to being a billionaire soon. Yeah. And Andy is obviously one of, for me, one of the most truthful and genuine human beings. Very rough, around the edges, but I love that about him because he speaks the truth. And you have to love him for just speaking the truth. You don't always have to agree with everything he's doing, but I love those guys. And so I really wanted to be mentored and be led by people, one, that are honest, they're genuine, also practice everything that they do. They are entrepreneurs. They lead a lot of people. They coach a lot of people, and coaching for them is roughly probably less than a third of their overall incomes. They're running real businesses and helping people like me and thousands of others, around the world, put into practice what's made them successful. So I was originally attracted to Ed. Ed had a house in my area. He has a lake house in Lake Coeur D Alene. I live in Coeur D Alene, Idaho, and I have seen his house be built for the last 10 years.
Holy
And
smokes.
I say that because it's a big house.
Yeah.
And I would take my boat at the time, which wasn't even my boat. It was actually a family member's boat. And I would go park in front of his house on the lake. And I would look at that house and I'd be like, who owns that house? And what does that person do? And what have they had to become? And did they inherit it or did they work or whatever? So for 10 years, I was fascinated. And when it got complete, I parked in front of that house and dreamt about being in that house and saying, you know what, I'm going to meet the person who lives in that house, who owns that house. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to do it. And about 3 years ago, I got to meet Ed, and that's Ed's house. And it was a phenomenal experience, but I visualized it and I put it into practice. I became, kind of obsessed with it. And it's helped me in a lot of ways.
I mean, what a cool visualization, because when you're explaining that, I'm thinking about how this house is being built over 10 years, and we can relate that to our career, our love life, our business, however that is. And sometimes it's going to start with, just sticks and whatnot. And it may have had this great, gigantic, big idea, but right now it's all the framing, and all of a sudden you get the walls around it, and you see this creation being built. And that's really our business. And that's how our life is. And that's how even our struggles, and this is what a struggle looks like. And this, we're going to build it into an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And, man, that's just such a great visualization. I'm going to jump around on you a little bit here.
Yeah, jump around.
Things I want to talk about is number one, what does your schedule look like? What time do you get up in the morning? How do you bookend your day? And what does your week look like?
So I'm a stickler for schedule. And so I build my business around, I don't believe in balance, because it's really hard to do that. And if you really mapped out your day, like I do, you realize that balance is sort of something that is kind of like the horizon. You can chase it, but never really achieve it.
Yeah.
So for me personally, what I would do is I work 21 days a month, 5 days a week, 7 hours a day. I try and get that to about a 420-minute workday. And I get up at 5 o'clock and I shut down right around that 3 o'clock, area for the most part in the business, realm. And I focus on then body being balanced in business. So I'm focusing on my family. I'm focusing on a little recreation. I get some reading in. I do a lot of church activities and have a lot of fun in my life. So I structure things, a little bit maniacal in terms of particularly my work, because I don't want it to own me. Used to be a workaholic, 80 hours a week, and really needed to get through some coaching, get balance around just the work aspect of it. So I prioritize my working out, I prioritize my work day, and I prioritize my family time, and really try and get my life, as organized as I possibly can around that schedule. But I got a morning routine. I got a work routine, and then I got an after work routine, and I got an evening routine, and I got a sleep routine. So I'm huge on routines. I love routines. In 2019, I had 78 flights in 52 weeks. In 2020, due to the pandemic, I haven't flown once. And in 2021, I haven't flown once. And in 2022, I'm not going to fly anymore either. So I love this new economy that we're in. I love being on Zoom and connecting with people. And if people want to meet, man, I just send them a ticket. Come to Coeur d'Alene. You've never been to God's country. You're going to want to come here anyway. And I've reduced my travel and got my life back. And I'm super thankful. I'm very blessed to be able to have it created.
That's so awesome, bro. I'm so proud of you, man. That's just so
Thanks.
cool that, again, for where you've been and where you're at now, you're getting control of your life. And I'm sure, obviously we can paint it with, I'm sure there's ups and downs throughout your day as well, but that's not the thing that dominates your day, as long as you have that correct mindset. And I'm sure people out there listening around the world, wow, Jim's life sounds perfect. Jim's life's not perfect. I can promise you that. He's got his ups and downs, but what it is the mindset, it's the structure, it's the schedule, it's the attitude of gratitude, and all those things are just spewing out.
It's progress. It's progress for me, not perfection, right? There's only one perfect person that ever lived, and I don't think there'll be another one. And so from that perspective, we're all broken and we're all just working on things, making it a little bit better. And if I can stand in the mirror tomorrow morning and say, man, yesterday you did good. You didn't do good in this area, this area, and this area. Let's do a little bit better today. I'm awake and aware of who that man in the mirror is. And I'm responsible to that, right? So I'm not looking anymore for other people to validate me or, care really what they think or whatever. Like self-confidence comes from really one area for me. And that is keeping the commitments that I make to myself. Mm-hmm. So the more I keep the commitments that I make to myself, the more I fall in love with who I am, and I know who I am. I know who I am because I know I'm the one doing the work, right? So that way it takes a lot of the pressure off of everybody else thinking they know me or can, whatever. So it's a really liberating, very, freeing feeling. But man, just like everybody, and there's no such thing as perfect. That's why I say for me, I like to have the structure, and I don't really believe in balance. but it's sometimes ebbs and flows and moves and shakes. And I'm really careful that if I feel like I'm working too much, I course correct from day to day. I might work a little bit later because I got a fire, I got something I got to put out, or, whatever one day, but I'll say, look, I'll go into my calendar immediately the next day and I'll give myself that time back.
Yeah.
So I will not spend my whole life working just to get to the end of it and go, what did I do with my life?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I always talk about that in my show. That's one of my biggest fears is laying on your deathbed saying to yourself, "Damn, I wish I would have. I wish I would have tried this. I wish I would have had more time." That's all. That's like the one thing when you're on your deathbed that you always think, "Man, I just needed a little bit more time." Yet we have so much time, but we waste it on bullshit and doing stuff that's not productive or that's not going to help us or serve others.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't need a $28 million second home. I don't need a $150 million jet. Like there are people that want that, and that's fantastic. There's no judgment, but for me personally, like I just want to be happy with where I'm at.
That's it, right? I mean, that's all it's about.
That's enough for me, right?
How many hours of sleep do you get per night?
I love 8 hours plus.
That's how I am, man.
I love it. I know all these people, don't shut down till 11 and get up at 4 or whatever. Like, man, I my head hits the pillow at 9:30 and I'm up, between 5 and 5:30, and I fight the demon to get out of bed every single day too, right?
Sure, yeah.
I just like everybody, I think that's a normal thing. And if you don't fight the demon to stay nice, warm in bed, snuggled up with your significant other, you're crazy, I think. Right?
Yeah, but that's part of the struggle, though. That's like you've got to if you can't overcome that first thing in the day, the rest of the day is going to be tough too. You've got to be able to fight that off first thing in the morning, be able to get out and jump out and then rock and roll. Because hey, I get it, man. It's tough to get out of bed sometimes.
Right? That's a win. Right. That's a base hit. That's a win. And that's like a little teeny kind of commitment that you kept to yourself. And so that's a confidence builder. Right. And so when you get to the mirror, you're starting to stack up all these wins and you're stacking up all these gratitudes and stacking up all these things that you're proud of yourself for. And those commitments that you keep honoring to yourself. It's great. We all know what the guilt that we feel when we sleep until 8, when we said we're getting up at 5:30. Sure. We all know the guilt that we feel when we say we're going to work out and we didn't. And I'm not talking about guilt that other people put upon us. I'm talking about the guilt that we carry to ourselves when we have the reflection of the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want that hardcore core truth. They just want what's convenient.
Well, absolutely. That's what separates, and I'm not trying to be so a dickhead about this, but that's what separates successful people from unsuccessful people, and it's the little things. It's day after day. It's not like you lost one day. It's that you're making a tough decision, a bad decision, not even a bad decision. There's no right or wrong, but maybe you're making a decision that doesn't serve you day after day after day instead of facing who you are. And then when you make that switch, that's how you really become successful. But it doesn't happen overnight either. It's making that switch day after day after day after day after day.
There's this program called 75 Hard that Andy Frisella taught me about.
Okay.
And it's called 75 Hard for a reason, because it's 75 hard, right? Like you guys can all Google it. You can get the book. You guys can see what it's about. But it's hard. I failed it twice, right? I failed it twice. Finally did it the third time, and I haven't stopped. So this week, Jeremy, marks the 77th consecutive week of 5 days a week or more of my exercise routine, from 5:45 start to 7, 5 days a week, 77 weeks in a row, consecutive weeks in a row.
77 weeks?
Yeah, weeks. So for me, and I'm not saying that obviously to, pat myself on the back or impress anybody.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying from a confidence perspective, for my own self-talk, my own self, worth, because it's funny when we talk about self-worth, like who values your worth? Well, yourself. Your self-worth, right? Keep the commitments that you make to yourself. And for me, stacking up that little win every time I have that little workout, going into week upon week upon week and building on it, the confidence meter just goes up and up and up and up and up. So does the self-love, so does the commitment, and all the other areas of life start to turn around because of the little tiny commitments that you keep to yourself.
Well, you said you failed twice.
I failed 75 hard twice, 75 days in a row twice.
75. Yeah. Okay. Well, regardless, it's 75 days in a row twice. I'm just curious, what day was it, and how did you, what'd you say to yourself when you dropped, when whatever that day that was? Like, did you make it through a week? Did you make it through 70 days? And I'm just curious about the psychology part about that. Is like, man, you only had 5 days left, or man, I'm halfway through, or man, I didn't even make it halfway. Like, what went through your head when you quit both times?
Yeah, for me, both times was a little tiny, ridiculous. I forgot my progress pick. So I was pretty disciplined at, eating okay, staying out, no alcohol or anything like that, 2 workouts a day, reading some positive stuff. A lot of those are in my routines already. So I felt like I was just going to nail it. But there's little tiny things that you have to remember and that you have to do. And I missed a couple progress picks, early on in phase 1, probably like 30th day in, right around that 35 day. So super frustrated, but you got to start over and be honest with yourself. No one's keeping score but you, right? And you can't lie to yourself because that's pointless. So then the second time I made it longer. It was like 65 days. And it was the same thing. It was like, dang it, man. I forgot the dang progress pick, And so it was a little thing. And then that next time that I started, I just haven't stopped. And so I was like, I went 75 days and it's been 77 weeks.
That's awesome.
So I just figured like, hey, some people do days, my brother, some people do weeks. Maybe it'll be 75 years. I don't know.
Well, that'd be cool.
Keep on going.
That's awesome. One of the things I talked about briefly, and I'm just, again, curiosity more than anything. I talked about being on the deathbed. And this is a question I've asked just random guests. And I thought I might as well ask you, what do you think happens after you die?
Well, for me, I want to go to heaven.
Does heaven exist? Does hell exist? And why and again, I'm just asking random questions and I know you're an open book, so I can feel like I can ask you this. Why do you 100% believe that there is a heaven or a hell? Because I can almost, and again, full disclosure, I am extremely spiritual. I was born and raised Catholic. I just don't know, my friend. Now, I don't believe there is a hell. I can't comprehend that, but more than anything, I'm just curious what your thoughts are. Lights go out, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to want to believe, right? And for me, I want to believe, right? Okay. I don't want to believe that life is pointless and that there's no point to any of this. I want to believe that heaven is real because that's a choice. I mean, if not, for me, it's just like, what's the point, of all of it?
Well, but for me personally, the point is to help your fellow man, help people to be more successful, to be happier, to spread love. I mean, wouldn't that be a point as well to the time that you're on this planet to make the best of it and also be the best example to leave behind your legacy?
Yeah, I think the one of the greatest contributors to happiness, one is reducing all forms of comparison in your life, right? And then also contributing to others and the impact that you can make in others' lives. Right. Yeah. There's only so much you can make a lot of impact in your own life as well, but making an impact in other people's lives is ultimately looking back on your life going, man, I'm really, really happy with the progress that I've made. I've loved more. I've lived more. I've learned more. I've believed more. I've gave more. I mean, you read my bio. I'm a liver, learner, earner, giver. That's who I am. Right. And so I think you have to want to believe. But for me, there's a lot of evidence in my life that, God is real. Jesus is real, that has shown up time and time again. I'm a foster kid, and I had a tough childhood, not compared to a lot of people that have had tough childhoods, but by my own life, I had a tough childhood. Yeah. Never had a father, all the stuff. Not a victim, not a pity party, in any way, shape, or form. But the evidence of there being a spirit and a heavenly Father in my life is absolutely 100% real. I mean, we have more time. I go over, example after example after example of evidence of things that have happened in my life that cannot be explained by human form.
Well, we'll have that discussion because, like I told you, Dani Tuttle's been on 4 times. You've been on once, so you've got 3 more episodes to jump on, my friend. And we will dig into that for sure. One of my favorite books of all time, I know you got a billion books back there, is John Maxwell's book, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And I'm going to go through his 7 questions in the book that I absolutely love. Jim Stryker, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Question number 1 is, what is the greatest lesson you have ever learned?
Greatest lesson I ever learned is not about me.
Isn't that the truth?
Service.
How do you serve in your life?
Let go.
Okay. Explain.
Let go of the of my agenda, my ego, my pride, and my desire to please people.
And that's so cool, dude, because when you begin to let go and actually you're present and you're willing to help other people and not have, like you said it perfectly, not have that agenda, like what's in it for me, and just serving. Whenever you serve, it always comes back. You don't have to worry about like serving your agenda because it will come back to you 100%. It always has, it always will. So I love the way you put that.
Yeah. My favorite question to everybody is always, how can I help you? Where are you at? What do you need?
Yeah.
What do you want? Absolutely. What can I do? Right? Like, together we're better, separate we're divided. And I mean that.
It's so true. One of the things, I worked for a company called Southwestern Consulting. I got mad love for them. And one of the things we always talked about, I think Rory Vaden said it best, is, it's hard to be nervous when your heart's on service. If you're always willing to be, your heart's on service, you don't need to worry about anything else. It's all going to come back. And it's just, I love that quote.
Yep.
And number 2, my friend, is what are you learning now?
What am I learning now? Progress, not perfection.
Yeah. And that,
I'm learning
awesome?
now.
That's awesome.
Every single day I wake up and there are things that I want to do better the next day. And that helps me be a better liver, learner, earner, and giver, and a better servant, for other people.
Are you a checklist guy?
I love checklists.
Oh, nice. So am I. I love checklists. Absolutely. There it is,
Old
baby.
school.
There it is.
Every day.
I got my note. I got my pen right here. You got
every day.
Yeah,
I love writing down things, and I love checking it off, and I love the bigger the better. And I focus really, really hard on doing the hardest things in my day, the hardest things in my life before noon every day. Mm. So the hard stuff is done. The easy stuff is for the rest of the day.
What a great tip. That's a great tip. It's a great tip for everybody out there listening. I mean, that makes so much sense, because sometimes when, like he just said, you knock that big thing out, and then you just feel a sense of accomplishment. And you're like, damn, I got this big thing done. Now it's easy straight from here on. Then you get done with your day. You're like, man, that's a great day.
No procrastinating, right? I don't want to make that sales call. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Dude, do the hard stuff first, and then you get the gravy to look forward to, but get your hard stuff out of the way. Dude. Don't do your workout at the end of the day. Do it in the beginning. Why? Because it's hard. Okay. Get your workout done. Stay disciplined. Get it done. You have 15 sales calls you need to make, and you better do that before noon. Get it done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Question number 3 is, how has failure shaped your life?
I've learned way more from my failures, way more from my terrible decisions than I ever have any of my good ones.
What's the worst decision you've ever made?
The worst decision I've ever made. The worst decision. I mean, I've made so many bad decisions. That's a tough one.
It's like, where do I begin? I mean, it's like,
like the worst.
I got to list all these bad decisions I made.
I've made a ton of them, and they're all lessons for me, right? So, man, like I've made some really terrible ones. So I don't really understand.
You don't have to answer. It just popped in my head. I'm like, let me ask him that. Question number 4 for Jim Stryker is, Jim, who do you know that I should know?
Who do you know?
Dani,
everybody in my world, you should know.
Well, give me somebody that I can maybe talk to, get on the podcast. Like I said, Dani gave me your name twice.
Dani gave me, okay.
And don't give me Dani, because I'm going to get Dani. Dani doesn't even know. Dani will watch this show, I promise you. And then I'm going to get Dani back on the show. I haven't had Dani on in about 6 months. He's due for another show.
I love having Dani on the show. Donnie's awesome. So who do you know right off the bat? You need to know Paulo Maria.
Paulo Maria.
Yep. He is a market leader in Las Vegas, an incredible human being.
Okay.
You need to know him.
What do you respect most about him?
He is honest. He cares a ton about people, and he's humble. He wants to get better. He's a great father. He's a great husband. He's a great leader. And he's super, super smart.
Just everybody out there in Sales 101, that is what's called a golden nugget, my friend. So when you reach out to someone, when you're doing referrals, you reach out to the person, what do you respect most about that person? And then when you call them up and say, Paulo Maria, you don't know me, but do you know my friend Jim Stryker? Yes, I do. I got to tell you what Jim said about you. Jim said you're honest, you care a ton, you're humble, you're a great human, and you're super smart. Man, oh man, I'd love to have you on the show. What's he going to say? Of course, I'm going to get on the show. Sales 101, my friend. That is a great way to get referrals and solid ones. Question number 5 is, what have you read that I should read?
You need to read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me.
I've read it. I take that back. I did not read it. I listened to the audio version of it.
Yeah, which is better than reading it.
Blew me away. It blew me away. And I actually saw him speak up in Chicago. Yep. It's already been a year and a half ago. Man, that dude, what a story.
Oh, he's made a huge difference in my life. So second one you could read would be Warrior by Garrett J. White.
I've not read that one.
And then Max Out by Ed Milet.
I think I might start with Max Out because I've got an audio book to burn. I just listened to JLD's. Awesome. Yeah. And I like Ed Milet. I just like it. He he comes across, and again, obviously I've never met the guy, but he just comes across genuine. And I think, and again, I don't know, who knows? There's always people that are, I've heard, some, inspirational, motivational guys are complete assholes behind the scene, but I don't think that with that Milet. I almost feel like that dude kind of gets it. And I think he's just a real ass dude. And I would love to meet him at some time one of these days. So I'm going to read that book.
He is a real ass dude. You can run into him at the grocery store like I did, and he'll come up to you and give you a fist pump and just sit there and talk to you like you're a normal human being. And he's, one of the wealthiest guys I've ever met. He's humble, he's kind, he's smart. And if you said, man, I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee and spend some time with you, I guarantee you he would absolutely do it.
I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy like that with the house that took 10 years to build, and look at it. That's so cool, man.
He sold that one for $27 million, and who knows how many other hundreds of millions of dollars he has.
No, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
Question number 6. 2 more, my friend. Question number 6 is, what have you done that I should do?
Start riding the Peloton 5 days a week.
Okay. How many miles do you do a day?
10 miles in under 30 minutes, 475 calories.
Okay. Are you in one of those groups that ride together, or you just get on and go?
I get on and go. I started it with those groups, but I'm more committed and less interested in that kind of stuff. So it's really difficult to be a committed person dealing with people who are interested.
What's a Peloton cost? I don't have one.
It's about $1,900, I think. And it's like $30 a month. Do it in the comfort of your home. Be one of the greatest investments you've ever made in yourself. Well,
it's gotta be too, when you're up in Idaho. How far up in Idaho do you live? Are you way?
I live in Lake Coeur D Alene, northern Idaho, but I mean, there's a gym, 20 minutes from my house. But I love working out. I love working out at home because there's no excuse.
Yeah, the traffic didn't get you, or the snow didn't get you, did it?
No. And the pandemic didn't get me, or nothing got me. The only thing that got me was the voices inside my own head, my own laziness.
That's so true.
It's the only thing that could get me.
Question number 7. And again, this is Jim Stryker. Just obviously, everyone, I know you're going to love this show, but Jim, how can I add value to you?
And you've already added value having me on this show, but who do you know that I need to know?
That's a great question. I wasn't prepared for it, but I'm going to give you somebody. Let me give you someone good here. I think one of the most, do you know Elise Archer?
I do.
Elise is someone that's made a huge impact in my life. I absolutely love her to death. She is just an all-around amazing person. You know what else I'm going to tell you? You need to know my friend Jamie Langham. Now, I know you don't know her for sure. And Jamie's going to listen to this episode, and I'm not even going to tell her that I talk about her. But, I mean, mother of 3, works her butt off. She's got her podcast. What I love about her is she's perfectly flawed. She knows she's flawed. She knows what she struggles at. She beats herself up about it, but she continues for progress, like you talked about earlier. We're always trying to get better, and she is just such a light of common sense. She is just an amazing woman, and I would recommend anybody to know Jamie C. Langham, and I will connect you guys as well, because even just a phone call, you know what I'm saying? Even if you guys just spend a 20-minute phone call, you both get a ton out of each other, and she is just so real. And when I love Jamie the most is when she is really real, because I think we all have this personality that we always like this is who I am. This is, I'm successful. This is what I do. And this is what I'm saying it all humbly, but that next layer of person, like who she truly is and how you are and how Dani is. And it's that next layer, like, how do we get past that first layer to get the next layer to really develop and find out who people really are? And that's with anything in life, and with her and with you. And like I mentioned, with Dani and Elise, and there's so many other people out there, man, that next layer, that's the layer, man. That's the layer that, friendships are built for a lifetime, and we get to really know our struggles and flaws and authenticity. Man, that's the person you've got to meet.
2 more for you. First, can you send us an introduction, whether it's text, 100%. Email, video, or whatever, to 100%. Jamie and I? Would be awesome. Yeah. Elise as well. The second piece of that is what's one thing I can do to add value to your life?
You know what you can do? You can read my book.
Awesome.
It's a very quick read. I've never written more than 2 paragraphs in my entire life. And I wrote a book. It came out in December. It's 88 pages, very, very short. I'll actually autograph a copy and send it to you if you give me your address when we shut down here.
You bet.
I'll mail it out to you. That would mean a lot to me. And the bigger thing, that's huge, but I also want you to come back on my show because I love when people get repeat guests. And I know there's so much more we got to get into, and I just love the conversation, and I love to get your voice out because you're the guy that gets it, that gets the big picture, the life, the struggles is real, and I just love having people like you on there. And this is why Dani wanted me to get you on it, and I know now, and I just got to get you back on the show again. So I guess those two things.
Man, I would thank you. I will definitely read your book if you send it to me, and I will get you my information 100%. And I would love to be a guest on your show. I love this show. And I've done several podcasts now. I love this one because this was not scripted. This was not, laid out. There was not there's not an agenda. There's not questions. It's just two guys being real, being raw, being authentic with each other. And this is as real and as good as it gets. And so, man, I thank you for keeping it genuine on this show.
Hell yeah, my friend. I appreciate you, my friend. Now, Jim, tell everybody around the galaxy where they can find you.
You can find me at jimstryker.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me anywhere. My phone number is all over the internet, and I'm all over social media as well. And if there's anybody out there that wants to connect, then I would welcome it.
Connect with Jim Stryker. That's a no-brainer. Connect with him on social media. That would be the place I'd recommend most because he just puts so much knowledge up there and so many stories and so many great photos. I mean, you talked about Father's Day the other day, which was so awesome. I read all your posts.
Thank
you.
I
just love them, man. There's several people that I read all their posts. You're that guy. I read all your posts and I just love them. They inspire me daily and they're different. They're just, family pictures here or a picture of the lake the other day or wherever. I mean, it's just stuff like that. And I'm like, man, that's a cool part of the country, but it's just that perspective that I love people like you on my feed because it energizes me and fires me up. So I appreciate
And what part of the country are you in?
I am in northern Indiana. Now I've lived all over. I lived in Chicago, I lived in Indiana, I lived in North Carolina, I've lived in California. And to be continued, I'd probably like to move here again. Hey, I don't know, in the near future. I want to go south. I've talked about going south. I can't stand the winter. So maybe Florida, maybe move down there by Dani or something. That'd be great.
Yeah, you can live wherever you want to live.
There's no question.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing. Yeah, absolutely. And my grandma's from Goshen, Indiana.
Dude, no way.
Yeah.
What a crazy world, bro. Goshen's 45 minutes from here.
Yeah, she grew up in Goshen.
Do you know where Fort Wayne is? You got to know where Fort Wayne is.
Yeah. I've never been to Goshen, but she literally just flew back on Tuesday. Came back from Goshen. So
you don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to go to Goshen, my friend. I'll just take my word for it. It's nice. Okay, then that's it. That's all you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once again, I appreciate everybody listening all around the galaxy. Look at this. Look at this shirt, man. You've got greatness within. I got the podcast swag hat.
I love it.
If you want to find out more, go to the positivesidepodcast.com and check out the link there. Check us out on Facebook. I say it in every single episode. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You've got greatness within. Like always, this is The Positive Side.